I know you guys don't subscribe to Dirt Road Traveler for cooking tips, but you're gonna wanna see what we do today with 21 pounds of beef brisket. Okay, so welcome inside the Team Dirt Road Traveler kitchen. Today is a little different for us, but if you're like us, when you're traveling, you look for some really cool food. So most of you are probably a little foodie-ish. So I'm gonna clean down this 21-pound brisket. Gonna show you how to season it, and we're gonna put it on the smoker. We're gonna do a method that's called hot and fast. A lot of folks think that cooking a brisket means that you fire up the smoker at midnight and you spend 15 hours drinking beers, making sure that your temperature is just right. But that's not how we do it. We're big fans of hot and fast. So this brisket will actually be off the smoker in about 4.5 hours. It'll be wrapped, sit, and we'll be cutting it up for dinner at around 5:30 tonight. So here come the steps, and really hope you enjoy what we do with the brisket. So a couple of steps that we have to follow before we actually get into the brisket and working the brisket. The first thing is we need to disinfect the countertop. I've seen people on videos about doing brisket just sort of grab their stuff and get at it. We're going to be working the meat on this countertop, so we want to disinfect it. The next thing that we'll do after we disinfect is when we open the package, we're going to pat down the brisket with paper towels. I've also, in other videos, seen people actually wash the meat. But what happens is, as soon as you start washing the meat, you're splattering water with any pathogens that are on it all over your kitchen. So we're gonna pat it down, get rid of any of those sort of pathogens that might be there, and then we'll get into actually taking the excess fat off the brisket. So that's the next thing we'll do. Okay, so the next two parts we're gonna do in two separate parts. First I'm gonna show you the rub, and then we're gonna slice down and get the fat off the top part of the brisket. So my rub, the way I do it. First, I use sea salt. I'm gonna put in a good quantity of sea salt. It's not really a free pour with this container. So, you know, basically what I want in my ratio is sort of 2 parts salt, 3 parts pepper. So I'd like to use just regular ground pepper from the Foodland. Like, it's super easy to use. And then 1 part celery seed. It's kind of got a tricky little flavor that it adds. It's not your garden variety rub spice, but the secret weapon, my secret weapon. And I have to tell you, Cindy loves the secret weapon. I actually also put in 1 part cinnamon. There's a sweetness that comes with the cinnamon, a little bit of a fun extra taste, and let me tell you, if you add cinnamon to your rubs, you're going to be super happy you did. One other thing that I'd like to point out to you is while I'm actually trimming down, take a look at the way the grain is running on this brisket. When we slice, we want to slice against the grain. Helps, it just makes it easier to chew and enjoy the brisket. So I will, at this point, cut this corner off and give myself a nice clean line. The reason why I do that is what tells me the direction when it comes time to start slicing the direction I want to slice the brisket later on. Okay, this is where immature Tim comes out, because it's time for me to rub my meat. So we made that rub a little while. I hope you're laughing, because I think that's very funny, but maybe it's just that 56-year-old Tim is too immature. Anyway, so we made up that rub. I actually have some rub also already that I've made in the past. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna sprinkle, not, willy-nilly. We're gonna get a nice coverage. And there've been discussions, I've heard people say, oh, you should rub the underside as well. Frankly, there's so much fat down there, you're not going to pick up much flavor from the rub, wasting your time there. So basically, rub it on, sprinkle it on, pat it down. And what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to let this sit for about an hour, hour and a half before we go ahead and put it on the smoker. So the next step is going to be firing up the smoker. So we'll get into that in a couple of seconds. So effectively, we're about half an hour from when we want to actually start putting the brisket onto the big green egg. A couple of things here that I'd like to correct some misconceptions that I've heard of in the past. One of them is putting your wood chunks on top of the charcoal. No, you want to put these chunks of beautiful aromatic woods underneath the charcoal. It's science. I don't really understand the science, but I believe in the science. So we'll put in 3 nice big chunks. Put in a couple of chunks of oak as well. These are actually whiskey barrel oak. So we'll put some of them under there as well. And we're gonna leave some aside that I'll show you a little trick about when we actually put the brisket onto the smoker. So my goal at this point, getting the fire actually underway, we're using hardwood maple by Big Green Egg with, of course, our wood chunks underneath. So once I get things rocking and rolling in here, I'll put the Big Green Egg deflector, which is sitting underneath the grill right now. I'll put that in, set the grill on top. I'll close it down with the goal, because we're doing hot and fast, my goal is to get up to just over 200 degrees Celsius or 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Once we get to that point, we'll put the brisket on and start the fun of the smoke. So hang tight, here comes the brisket. Well, guess what time it is? 400 degrees. So one little thing I want to show you, getting super hot. I have flame in there right now, so I'm just gonna dampen this down so that when I close it, we'll be closing in on holding at 400 degrees. So you may have noticed, remember that extra chunk of wood? It's sitting in the middle right now. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift the brisket and hope that the foil falls off. And I put my brisket on top of that piece of wood, give us a fold to allow that great big huge brisket to actually sit on the grill. It's actually going to give us a little extra smoke in the bottom, and we're pretty set now. So the keys at this point for me are to make sure that we stay at 400 degrees. I want to get the temperature, the internal temperature, in around the 190 mark when I pull it off. At this point, the size of this brisket trimmed down is about 17.5 pounds. I figure we're going to be about 4 to 4.5 hours before we're done and ready to pull. At that point, we're going to wrap it in butcher paper and some foil, let it settle in there. We'll put it in actually the oven at about 225 for about an hour or so. Once it's tender enough inside, we'll open it up, let it rest before we slice into her, and we're really excited about that. By the way, remember those couple of pieces that I chopped off that corner so that I know what direction my grain is in the brisket? That's here. She's going on. She's going to be a nice little piece. And there was one other nice chunk that I took off. It's going to sit in here as well, take on some smoke. And when I do a spray at one point in about an hour and a half or so, I'll pull those two off. There we go. So quick tip while we're here about temperature inside a big green egg. We've just put a massive piece of beef on that top rack, and the thermostat is above that. So as we are running and trying to hold 400 degrees, before I had opened up to put the brisket in, I had put a secondary thermostat into the egg to make sure that my temperature at grill level was 400 degrees, because in the bell at the top, it's going to be a little lower than 400 now because the meat is in the way. It has a cooler temperature, so it's affecting what the dome area perceives as the temperature. So just a quick tip for making sure that you're not really overcooking something in a big green egg. Well, it's raining a little bit here at Wilbur Lake, but we're rolling smoke on that brisket, so that makes me feel good. This is that moment where I ask you, please hit that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up if you're enjoying the video. A little bit off target for us doing a cooking video. I know you're used to seeing travel videos, but hey, we're just trying to be us. Anyways, we have a new series coming in less than a week. We're going to be traveling the Danube River on a Uniworld cruise, spending a few days in Budapest, then Bratislava, Vienna, a few other places in Austria before we end at Passau, Germany, and spending a few days in Munich. So we look forward to sharing those videos with you. There's a lot more to come in this video as that brisket finishes its cook and we get to bite into it in a little while. Anyways, thanks for watching this episode of Dirt Road Traveler. Hope you enjoy the rest of the video. So now it's the time where we're about 35-40 minutes into the smoke, and I'm going to give it its first spritz of water. Why we do this is because we're trying to make the bark nice and crisp and settle right into the meat so that as we do the slice, the bark sits on that beautiful red smoke ring and adds that lovely flavor to the outside of the brisket. So let's see how we're doing inside, and we'll give her a spritz. Yeah, you can see it's darkening on the outside, so I'm just going to use a little sprayer. Spray the outside. Loving it. Whew, it's hot in there. This is going to be real nice. Remember, this is a hot and fast smoke, not one of those long drink 7 beer smokes. So we're looking forward to sharing the results with you when we're done. So we're about 3 hours in, just did an internal temperature test, and we're, depending on where in the brisket, we're about 170 degrees, so probably another hour and a bit. Oh my God. So we're now internal temperature around 180. So what we're going to do is we're going to wrap the brisket in butcher paper and tin foil. We're going to let it finish in the oven at about 225 degrees for about an hour. So look at this bark. Can you guys actually see how awesome that is? Like that's perfect. So what we're going to do, paper over. Over again. Green foil. So she's wrapped up nice. spend the next hour in the oven. So you might be wondering what peanut butter has to do with a smoking brisket video. Well, actually, here it is. That feeling that you get when you push a bamboo skewer into peanut butter is the feeling you should have to a perfectly cooked brisket when you put a bamboo skewer into the brisket. We'll do this test after the brisket's been in the oven for an hour, but just wanted you to know that's the feel you're looking for. Bamboo skewer, peanut butter, that's the feel we want now. So push this exactly. Feels just like it did with peanut butter. Now I'm going to try just to get an internal temperature through that same hole. 196 degrees. That is exactly 1 degree hotter than the recommended brisket temperature. That's pretty exciting. So now we're just going to cut it open and let it breathe. And in about an hour from now, after it's rested, I'm going to show you how to cut the brisket. Sorry, we've got our sides cooking in the oven, so I might have to raise my voice a little bit. So you remember I cut that corner off? So that's why it was cut off, is that's my start point now. This cut is going to be a little bigger, simply because this piece has got all around cut, burnt end. Now the cut size that I'm going to look for is about the width of a regular wooden pencil. And I'm going to just cut through a couple pieces in, and then I will show you where we're at. And I'm going to end you with the third cut here. And check this out. That is what we're looking for in a brisket. Okay, so I've made the first cuts. As we get into the bigger piece of the brisket, I'm going to change directions. I'm not going to do the whole squeeze it and let you see the moisture come out, but just by looking at that knife, you can see how juicy this is. But don't take my word for it. Sin, let us know. Take that piece. Yeah.
It's really good.
Okay, folks, that's Brisket by Team Dirt Road Traveler. Hope you enjoyed the video. Bye for now.